what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit. Up front is a 5.7 liter V8 and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Grand Cherokee Summit for two reasons. First of all, I think I'm driving it in the perfect weather for it, our first snow of the year here in Chicago, and I'm driving a white Summit Jeep. It just feels right. But the second reason is the fact that now looking back on this, after 8 years, almost 9 years has passed since this car came out, I have quite a bit of retrospect. Jeep is not where it was 9 years ago. Stellantis is not where it was 9 years ago. It didn't even really exist 9 years ago. And so we're going to be doing some Jeep retrospective as well as taking a look at this pretty well-equipped Jeep Grand Cherokee. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackbradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 5.7 liter V8 under the hood. Well, you could get these with the 3.6 V6 or the 5.7 V8. The 5.7 V8 was actually pretty hard to find, and when the owner was looking to buy one of these, he only found one for sale, and this was it. So if you do want a V8 in the Summit, they can be tricky to find, although not impossible. The 5.7 Hemi has been around since the early 2000s and has been put into almost every chassis that Jeep, Dodge, and Ram have put out. They used them in the Ram trucks, they used them in the Durangos, they used them in the Chargers and Challengers. If only they shoved it into a Dodge Caravan, then I think they would have hit the trifecta. But it's a relatively good engine. These do have cylinder deactivation issues sometimes. However, if I remember correctly, there might be a software fix for it or a mechanical fix. I can't remember, but there is a fix for it, and that's what most people will do. Now, the V8 is going to offer more power over the V6, and I'll put that in a title card down to the bottom left of your screen if you'd like to know difference. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's a pretty good transmission, actually. Throughout the 2010s, Jeep started to shift over to 8 speeds, and they're actually pretty good. I certainly don't have any complaints, and from the people I've talked to, they don't seem to either. Last but not least, of course, the Jeep Grand Cherokee is 4-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit from 2016? Drives great. It doesn't have the smoothest ride in the world, but it is a Jeep product rather than a Dodge or Chrysler product, so to be expected. I like how high up I sit. Visibility is pretty good as well. And I like all the materials in here. We'll touch on that a little bit later on. But it's a nice SUV, man. It really, really is. And I think a lot of people dog on these for several different reasons that we'll get into later, but honestly, from where I'm sitting driving it, I don't get it. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a mix of physical and digital gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer, and off to the right is my coolant temperature and fuel, but in the center, I get a digital gauge for my speedometer, but of course, I can cycle it all around. The owner said that on the highway, he gets about 21 to 22 miles to the gallon, which is pretty nice, and you can read that in one of these many screens. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our phone options and voice commands. And off to the right, we have our cruise control and adaptive cruise control. So you enable adaptive cruise with this bottom row of buttons, but then you enable standard cruise control with this upper set of buttons. Very, very confusing, and there have been several times that I've been driving a Jeep product and went, oh, okay, cool, I'm in adaptive cruise, and then I realize it's not slowing down and have to go, oh! So, there's that. I think they could have done this in a better way, but I don't run Jeep. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, headlight switches, gauge dimmer switches, and our gas cap release. And moving on to the door, we have our latch to get in and out and our power mirrors, folding mirrors, power windows, and power locks. Now, you will start to notice these sort of light brown interior accents here on the door, which really make this interior feel premium. Moving into the center, we get our touchscreen infotainment. This is the Uconnect system from Stellantis, FCA, whatever you want to call it in this era. A couple of things I like, a couple of things I don't like. I like how it looks visually. I do think it's a little bit outdated, but of course this is 9 years old, so it's going to be. And I think it's relatively easy to use. However, you have to use this if you want heated or ventilated seats or your heated steering wheel. So you are forced to use the screen for several things, and I don't like that. However, down below we do have our volume, hazard switch, and tune knob, but more importantly, our physical climate control. So we do have physical climate controls here in the Grand Cherokee Summit, which is very, very nice to see. It's not exclusively ran through the screen, which is a positive. However, I forgot to mention in my hatred of the touchscreen heated seats, the backup camera. So here is the backup camera on the 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit. Down below, we do get a openable cubby. Kind of nice to see that in there. We have our SD card slot, aux, USB-A, and 12-volt outlet. And then we have the shifter off to the left. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill Jeep shifter. Nothing really too interesting here. But off to the right, we do have cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and it fails. I think every Grand Cherokee of the past has, so unfortunately, nothing new here for the Grand Cherokee Summit. Then we have plenty of drive modes to talk about. So we have our four-wheel drive low button, our hill descent control, our drive modes for sand, snow, rock, mud, and auto. And then off to the right, we have our air suspension setting. So this is outfitted with air suspension, and it has a park mode that will lower the vehicle all the way. Now, this is really nice to get in and out. However, as the owner said, what has happened multiple times was that he will park in front of a parking divider, the vehicle will sit all the way down, and it will actually touch the parking divider. And then when he got back in and backed out, it actually pulled the front bumper off because it lowered over the parking divider. So, something to note if you do put it in this park mode, or if it does do it on its own, give it a second to raise back up before you back out of your spot, or else your bumper will pay the price. Center console beyond that, and the seats. The seats are heated, ventilated, power, and memory, and that's all I can really ask for from a vehicle like this. They are comfortable. I'm enjoying them on a day like today. The heated seats are turned all the way up, and I wouldn't want it any other way. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, we're in the second row, or back seat, of the Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit from 2016, and I am thanking my lucky stars that it has rear heated seats on this chilly, chilly day. Down below, we do have two climate vents, two USB-As, and a wall outlet. Really love to see that. 115 volt, 150 watt outlet, and again, our heated seat operations. The brown interior carries on back here. Love to see that, especially with the Summit stitched into the back seats. I say this all the time, but a lot of automakers will do fancy-dancy, cool front seats and then completely forget about the back seats. Well, they even stitch Summit into the back seat. So really, really nice attention to detail there. Power windows, of course, little hangers and hooks, and I get to enjoy this nice sunroof. Fold down center console with two cup holders. Beyond that, I fit well. Knees aren't hitting the seat in front of me. I have probably about 3 to 4 inches before that happens, and headroom, I'm 5'11", not a small guy, and I fit pretty well. So overall, again, this interior is good. It's really good, and yeah, we'll talk about it later. Let's hop into the back and take a look at the tailgate and hatch, and then we'll talk about the looks, but I need to bundle up first. All right, let's go. All right, around the back of the Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit. Power tailgate back there. It looks like a handle, but you just hit the button inside of it. And once we are back here, we do have a really nice privacy cover. Bring that back, we have our tailgate button there and a 12-volt outlet that will only work when the vehicle is on. Come under here, we do have a little mat down here. And there we go, we do get a spare tire, which is very nice to see. Overall, that is the rear cargo space of the Grand Cherokee Summit, as it is really starting to come down now. So very cool to see. And then we can come in here, push that power button again, and it is a power-operated tailgate right back down. Love to see that out of the Grand Cherokee Summit. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love the look of this Grand Cherokee. I think it aged really well. Now, part of that is because they made these up until 2021, I believe. 2021 or 2022, I can't remember. It's a little foggy in my head. But they made these for a very, very long time, and so I got very used to them. However, I like that the Summit has the body color molding on the side. I like the wheels, and I like the updated front fascia of the 2016. So, altogether, together, I think it's a really good package. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit? Well, like I said at the top of the video, it's all green lights from my point of view here. I like the way it drives. I like the way it handles. I think the 5.7 is going to be reliable enough. Again, some cylinder deactivation issues, but they seem to be sorted out. And other than that, the transmissions are a lot more reliable than they used to be. Say what you will, but I think this is actually pretty good. And now, here in 2024, again, almost 2025, we have the privilege of hindsight. And so now looking back at this generation, it's been out of rotation and out of production for a couple of years. I think this was actually an unknown high point for Jeep. Everyone kind of dogged on these when they were new, or at least a lot of car reviewers kind of dogged on them. But now seeing where Jeep is going and what Jeep is and what Stellantis is and all of the uncertainty and the fact that it's really the only profitable brand under that umbrella, Jeep and Ram trucks are really the only things keeping Stellantis afloat, this is actually pretty good. It's like at the end of the movie when you realize that the bad guy was kind of a good guy all along, or that the good guys were able to persuade them into joining their cause or joining their team or what have you. That's kind of what this feels like. I feel like I hated the Grand Cherokee for years and years and years, and now, with hindsight, now knowing how bad the current situation is, well, this doesn't look so bad. Maybe there was a little bit of light in the eyes of this Grand Cherokee. Maybe it's the fact that it is frigid cold outside, and while I'm talking to you, I have my butt being heated, and I'm touching nice leather materials. Whatever it is, I have to be honest in this review, and I honestly like it. I like it a lot, so much so that I might even use the L word. I love this thing. I love this thing a lot. I hope you guys loved the video. Huge thank you to John for letting me borrow his Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit for today's video. John has been wonderful to work with. I have filmed several of his vehicles here this morning on this snowy morning. It's probably pretty easy to figure out which other cars on the channel are his, or you will soon enough. But I appreciate it. People like John are how I get to do my job, and so thank you to him. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.